Now a story you will see only on 4 tonight. Throughout the pandemic, we've been telling you about countless people facing being homeless because they can't get their unemployment money.
Well, tonight we investigate internal emails highlighting the continuing crisis within Colorado's unemployment system. CBS 4 investigator Katie Weiss shows us some people are being pushed to their emotional brink.
We've heard stories from people throughout the pandemic who are teetering on the edge of complete ruin.
David Seligman is a labor attorney and the executive director of Towards Justice, a legal nonprofit that fights for workers' rights.
And I think part of it is a volume problem and part of it is a systems problem.
This summer, his office and several other legal nonprofits wrote this stern letter to the Colorado Department of Labor, asking to work with the agency to address several shortfalls that are having a, quote, catastrophic impact for thousands of Coloradans.
We've all been deeply concerned about the challenges facing workers during this pandemic.
He's spoken with many unemployment claimants struggling to get paid because of issues with the system and customer service. Some of those people, he says, on the brink of suicide.
Their desperation is a life and death matter. The UI system in general, it needs to be much more intuitive and accessible.
After combing through internal emails, we learned a federal Department of Labor audit found a slew of issues, including a misunderstanding that led to overpayments to 25,000 people of $227 a week instead of $223. That might not seem like much, but over time adds up to nearly $1 million.
It did not become apparent until the audit took place.
Phil Spessard manages Colorado's unemployment system.
In the grand scheme of things, when we talk about fraud and you talk about the amounts of fraud or amount of fraud prevented, it's a relatively small amount.
The feds noticed other issues too, including missing or incomplete CARES Act reports and an adjudication backlog of more than 1.1 million claims. The Colorado Department of Labor responded to the feds, but an internal email from Executive Director Joe Barela shows he wasn't impressed with his team's answers, writing in May, quote, I think our replies sound like excuses and we provide no actual solutions or resolutions in our responses.
Why did you say that at the time, and do you still feel like your department has not identified actual solutions?
There were places where we misstepped, where we put a program into place during the middle of record volume. I do think we're constantly looking at, yes, there are problems. Do we have teams that are working on that, both in person and with technology, to program the system to get us to a place where we can handle issues that come up?
Barela says teams of federal employees are now helping Colorado with the backlog.
Some people have even been on the brink of suicide as a result of issues with your department. When you hear that, what's your response?
I think as a department, we need to listen and get to the root cause of what's causing that delay, and we want to get those resolved as quickly as possible.
While Barela says they are working on solutions, Seligman says the state needs to go farther.
These were life and death matter for many people, and they continue to be. So we need to make sure that the urgency is there across government and work to address them promptly.
Now, Seligman tells me that going farther also means that legislators need to take a serious look at providing more funding for this employment office so they'll be better prepared next time. In the meantime, I'm told that more federal grant money could be coming very soon. Reporting live in Denver, I'm Katie Weiss, covering Colorado First.